Talkin Hands, and we are live previewing UFC 249, Ferguson vs. Gaethje, tomorrow, pay-per-view, ESPN+. I'm your host, Preston Ekdahl. As always, joined by my co-host, Mr. Slaughterhouse1 on Twitter.
What's up, everybody?
Jeff, how we doing?
Doing great, man. I'm really excited about this, although we have some technical difficulties. We started a little late, but we have a special guest tonight. It's going to be fun. The sports keg himself, Jason. How you doing, man?
How are you guys, man? Excited to be with you.
Man, we were happy until we got this news about Jacare, and it seemed like maybe, just maybe, it could ruin the card. We're not sure yet. What do you think?
Yeah, I read the press release, and it seems like everything's a go. So I think we're going to have 11 fights instead of 12. They're not going to have time to find an opponent for Uriah Hall, but it seems like all systems go.
Yeah, no, I read the same thing, and man, we need it. We need something to happen. I know that's a little selfish of us, but there were, they knew what they were signing up for when they signed up for this, right?
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I had the coronavirus, and luckily I was okay. But I know that there are a lot of people out there that haven't been okay, unfortunately. But I feel good about sports coming back, man. I think it's time.
Let me ask you this, Jason, since you're the only one I actually know that has had the coronavirus. Did you have any symptoms?
Yeah. I
Okay.
was pretty screwed up. For about fevers in the middle of the night for 10 days.
Holy shit.
But after that, I was good.
Okay. So it kind of just, could you describe it as the flu, or was it worse? Is it?
Yeah, it was like a bad flu.
Like a bad
But
flu.
I know it affects different people differently,
Okay. Well, man, with that being said, let's just jump into the card with our fingers crossed. Hope to God that we have something and that everyone can remain safe, and coronavirus free. God bless. We don't want anyone to have to go through that, but
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
so we're sponsored by MyBookie. So we're using them right now for our odds. We're gonna go off them. Preston, you want?
Yeah, so let's start off. First fight on the card, Ryan Spann minus what's he at, my bookie?
Oh, okay. Ryan Spann minus 415, Sam Alvey plus 315. Over under 1.5, over 145, under plus 115. Preston, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, Ryan Spann should win the fight. However, these odds are pretty wide. I watched his last fight a couple days ago versus Devin Clark. I didn't think he was too impressive. Clark took him down a couple times. Spann had a little better stand-up, clocked him, caught him in a guillotine, choked him out. Sam Alvey, really can't trust the guy. Very inactive, doesn't throw enough. I'm going to go with Spann to win, but again, this isn't a lock by any means.
Jason, Sports Keg, what do you think?
Yeah, Sam Alvey does absolutely nothing for me. He's done nothing for me for a long time. He probably shouldn't even be on the roster anymore at this point, and I don't think he certainly shouldn't be on a pay-per-view anymore. He should be on a Fight Pass prelim on a random UFC fight night in a Hotel 6 parking lot. Sam Alvey sits and sits and sits. He always tries to find that one knockout punch that just never seems to come, ever. I think that Ryan Spann has the potential to have a pretty solid UFC career. He's very much a part of the new age of UFC fighter, and I think it's his time. It's certainly his time against somebody like Sam Alvey. I'm not laying the price because it's expensive, but do I think that he gets it done? I do. If somebody wanted to throw him in a parlay for parlay filler, I don't mind that. But in terms of a straight bet, it's a pass for me.
I agree 100% with that. You got to pass. Although I do, however, like the over 1.5. I'd see this going over. Ryan Spann's still kind of green. Sam Alvey has a little bit more experience. He's flat-footed, doesn't do anything for me whatsoever. But he did bring up the fact that he is fighting for his UFC life. You got to think he's going to go all balls out on this fight. make it a little bit dirty, kind of drag it out as much as he can. At 145 for the over, that's the only angle I think I can play this. And but I do agree, Ryan Spann's the only way you can bet this. I mean, he's got to win. He's got to win.
Definitely.
Okay, we're moving on. We got Brian Mitchell, Charles Rosa in the next fight. Mitchell coming in at minus 190, Rosa plus 145. Over and under 2.5, minus 230. The over, under, plus 190. Sports Keg, let's start off with you. What do you got?
You know, there is a ton of hype around Bryce Mitchell right now. And oftentimes in MMA, the lines are off because of public perception. And that's where the value comes into play. The public perception around Bryce Mitchell is skewed, in my opinion. He might be 12-0, but he has accomplished absolutely nothing in the sport. I mean, he's beaten Matt Sales and Bobby Moffitt. Okay, they're both horrific. One of them's not in the UFC anymore, and the other one's on his way out. There's an argument to be made here that the wrong fighter is favored, in my opinion. Like, if not favored, at the very least, I think a pick'em. And if that's the case, I have to take the dog money in Charles Rosa because I think he's better, or at the very least, as good as Bryce Mitchell everywhere. So it's pretty cut and dry to me. You could have got Rosa a week ago at plus 150. I'm not sure what you said. The current line is somewhere around plus 135. I still think there's value there. And that's the direction that I would go.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% about the pick'em. This fight should be a pick'em. Charles Rosa, to me though, he doesn't do anything either for me. He hits kind of soft. He's not that great in stand up. Yeah, he's Boston strong. He's tough and all, but man, he's always going to go for that submission. And is he really going to? I feel like he's going to struggle with Mitchell. Mitchell's a solid brown belt, close to getting a black belt, I think. I mean, man, this is such a tough fight. I feel like Rosa has hit his peak. I don't think he's going to get no better. I think Bryce Mitchell can get better. He's young, hungry, and honestly, I do think he has a little bit better of the stand-up. So I'm going 180 Bryce Mitchell. I don't love this fight. I wouldn't put a bunch on it, but I'm leaning Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, so for me, I'm in agreement with Jeff. However, I do agree with you, Sports Keg. Mitchell, you watch his fights, it's not like he's some elite talent out there. He throws pretty wide punches. His grappling's okay. Decent subs, but it's not like they prop him up like he's Khabib or something. Just like another guy later down the card will speak on. But
I mean, do you think that his last fight, he could have potentially lost that fight if it wasn't for the last minute twister he got, right? I mean, it was close.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But you know what? Shane Burgos and Manny Bermudez is very different than Bobby Moffitt.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. I watched that fight with Bermudez and Rosa last night. Rosa got his ass kicked. He got lucky pulling that freaking thing out. And I still, to this day, how can Bermudez tap to that weak ass shit? Like, that was strange to me. Anyway, so we got 2 for Bryce Mitchell. The dog for Sports Keg, Rosa. I can see that. This is like kind of, these are all coin flips in my opinion. There's a few I really like, but this is a tough card, man. I feel like it's kind of even throughout the whole card. Let's get on to the next fight, though. We're going Nico Price versus Luque. Luque is minus 250. Nico Price is plus 195. Over and under 1.5. Over minus 120. Under minus 110. Preston, what do you got?
Yeah, so before watching some tape, I was thinking, Nico has a very, very good chance. But when you watch tape, Luque, to me, looks head and shoulders above him, standing and on the ground. However, Nico does have that wild man style, winging hook, elbow. He could catch Luque coming in, but Luque talent-wise, just is better pretty much all around. Too wide of a price, though, for me. I wouldn't even trust him in a parlay, but I do think Luque gets it done. I don't know. it would be dog or pass if I had to bet it, but it's a tough fight. I just don't think the line should be 250. I've seen it as high as 300.
What do you think, Jason? Sports Keg?
I'm in agreement with almost everything that you just said. I think the fight should be a banger. Both guys have a ton of power, and you would much rather keep this on the feet, I would think, than anywhere else for both guys. At this price, there is certainly a case to be made for the dog in Niko Price. I always try to take a close look at somebody with the power that Price has. Anytime that you can get somebody like that over plus $2. Do I think that Price is the more technical striker? No, I don't, because I think Luque has better hand speed, better footwork, probably better counter striking. And I like the angle that Luque's combinations come from over Niko Price. What I don't like is the price. Another thing that you have to take into consideration here is, how does Niko Price win this fight? It probably has to be by stoppage, because I don't see him outpointing Luque or winning rounds like en route to a decision. The problem with that is, while Luque has losses in the UFC, I don't think any of them have been by knockout. Like, he fought a couple of UFC veterans with heavy hands. He was able to survive against Mike Perry and win a decision. You know, he lost to Wonderboy, but he survived. I think that Luque's durable enough to get the job done, but I'm not laying that price tag against the power that Niko has. So if you had to nail me down, I guess it would be dog or pass because of the price, but I expect Vicente Luque to win the fight.
I agree 100%. Luque all around on it, to me, is all around the better fighter. But 250, like you said, Preston, you alluded to, we can't do it. I can't do it. Dog or pass for me. I do like the over, however, over 1.5 at minus 120, 110. I think there's good value in that. Price gets beat up. You know, he goes out. He's known to come in these bangers. I don't see him doing that with Luque. I think he's going to play a little bit smarter this time around. Pick his spots. Not rush into this stuff, because we see what happens when he rushes into these fights. He gets knocked out like 70% of the time. So I'm going leaning Luque, but I'm going over 100%. Over 1.5. Next fight got scratched. Jacare, no more. Hall, feel sorry for Hall. I mean, that's horrible. He traveled all the way out there and has a no opponent. Like,
yeah. And Dana White's on record saying this was pretty much a must-win for Hall. So,
yeah.
Tough break for him.
Tough break for him. So we're going to move on to Carla Esparza, minus 155 against Michelle Waters at plus 125. Over and under 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 500. Under plus 350. Who you got, Sports Keg?
Well, first of all, unless you're fighting anybody in women's MMA that isn't Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Weili Zhang, and probably Joanna Jędrzejczyk, if you're going to bet a women's MMA fight, you should take them by decision, because 90% of the time fights go to the cards.
That and overs, baby. That and overs.
Yeah, 100%. Unless, you know, you're fighting bangers, like the best in the world. Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this fight, man. Carla Esparza surprised me in her last fight against Alexa Grasso, because I'm really high on Alexa Grasso's stand-up game, and Carla was able to walk through it and take her down repeatedly. Like, we know that Carla is not a great striker, but she is an excellent female wrestler. She knows what she does well, and she often comes out with the same game plan no matter who she's fighting. I expect she tries to come in, do what she does, wrestle mug karate hottie to the ground, probably wins that way, win rounds that way. She might be able to do it. And I think the opening number on Carla was around minus 110, although I could be wrong. I have to check. If it's at the opening number, I probably would have taken a shot on her. But at the current price, man, you know, Michelle Waterson is, I don't know. She's close to the range where I might throw a half unit on her. If she gets to the plus 140 range, I would consider it, because I think this fight is relatively close. Waterson's got a really solid stand-up game. She uses her karate really well. And I think that she'll be able to stay at range against Carla and pick her apart from the outside and not let Esparza get a hold of her and take her to the ground. If she can stop Esparza from getting inside, she wins this fight for fun. I think she's got a solid ground game, obviously, and a sneaky submission game. The only question I have is, can she deal with Esparza's really solid top control game if Carla can get her to the ground? So I'm going to lean Michelle Waterson, I guess, at this price, but I probably won't bet her unless I can get her at plus 140.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I like Michelle Waters here. I feel like she's an underrated wrestler. I feel like she can handle Esparza's top game. I think she will keep it her distance. She has great side kicks, a lot of tricks in her upper sleeve. In fact, I think she has more tricks up her sleeve, and that's why I'm picking her. I just think she has more ways to win. At plus 125, I'll take a shot with her, all day.
Yes.
What do you think, Preston?
So I'm in agreement with actually both you guys. At the beginning, I was leaning Carla Esparza, and then I rewatched the fight that cost me $5,000. Carla Esparza versus Alexa Grasso. I had a 6-fight parlay, $300 to win $5K.
Oh, man.
And that fight should have been a draw, or Grasso should have got the decision because she beat the hell out of her in the 3rd round.
Right.
So I still hate that fight, but I rewatched it. And I saw, to me, I think Waterson, even if she gets taken down, could get a submission potentially off her back. Now, I don't think that's how she wants to fight or win the fight. But as we said, standing, she's head and shoulders above Esparza. I don't think Esparza is going to control her physically too much. And I think Waterson gets back, uses her kicks, takes range, just kind of not picks her apart, but wins. I'm not going to say easily, but I think Waterson, not super safe, but I'm on Waterson. I'm on Waterson.
Nice. Well, we're on agreement there, so let's move on. Next fight. I like this fight because I'm a Werdum fan, but it's been such a long time. So we got Fabricio Werdum minus 270 against Olnick plus 210. Over and under 1.5. Overs minus 130. Unders even money. What you got, Sports Keg?
I could see this fight going over, I think, because, I don't have much on the fight, but we know what Alexei Oleinik is. He's a one-trick pony. He either gets you in an Ezekiel choke and squeezes the life out of you,
right,
or he loses.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a good striking game at all.
Exactly.
He's slow even for a heavyweight. And even at these big dog odds, I'm not running to the window to bet him. If Fabricio Werdum is anything close to what he was before he popped by USADA and started his 1-year suspension, he should win this fight easily. With that said, I'm really not looking to lay around $3 on him either, especially considering we haven't seen him since 2018. I guess for people that are betting parlays, you could throw him in a parlay to get the price of him down if that's your cup of tea. For me, it's probably a pass, even though I'm slightly interested in the over 1.5 rounds because Werdum is a very slow striker.
Right.
So I could see it going over. Other than that, probably a pass.
And I mean, when you got heavyweights like these, they're just prone to gas out. I mean, who knows? But Preston, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the classic go get a sandwich, go to the bathroom type fight. This is going to be boring as hell. I think Verdum's going to win, but like you said, the over is a really, really good look if you're getting under, 130, 125, because Oleinik is tough, but he's so slow, and Werdum, like you were saying, isn't going to just put a ton of pressure on Oleinik. I think he's going to pick him apart, and even if it's on the ground, I don't think he's just going to easily pass guard and like get an armbar or a choke like immediately. So over 1.5 is probably the best look. But if I had to pick a side, hard to go against Verdum. I think he gets it done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm totally leaving Verdum. I can't bet it. 270 is too high for me. The over I do like, although I don't trust Olenek. I don't trust his chin. I mean, he's when you have over 100 something fights, don't you think you're like a walking I mean, it's just dangerous at that point. The guy needs to hang it up, man. I'm so sick of seeing this guy, to be honest with you. But and that's all due respect. He's been a great UFC fighter. He is, if you look at his resume, I mean, he's gotten some of the best wins in MMA history, like period. So does Verdum though. But yeah, this fight's easy for me. Verdum all the way. Over. I like the over. Move on to a more interesting fight here. Greg Hardy, or is it? Greg Hardy comes in at minus 215. You're looking at De Castro plus 175. Over 1.5 minus 140. Under plus 110. Preston, what do you have in this?
Greg Hardy versus Jorgen De Castro. Tough fight. You gotta side with Hardy only because of the level of competition he's fought. Is better. Like, I mean, we all know his last fight, he went to a decision with Alexander Volkov, got beat up pretty bad standing, but Jorgen De Castro isn't, for one, as tall, as long, as rangy as Volkov. He does use leg kicks pretty well, but Hardy, physically and athletically, bigger, stronger, faster fighter. I think he gets this fight pretty much wherever he wants. I'm not laying 220 with Hardy because you never know what happens with the guy. He could knee you on the ground, use the inhaler in between rounds, maybe get caught with weed. Who knows? But I think Hardy's going to win this fight, but it's not one of my favorites.
What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, we don't know a lot about Jorgen De Castro.
No.
We saw him at UFC 243 against the subpar Justin Tafa. And, he looked good, had a beautiful overhand right to shut the lights out. I caught a couple of his fights on the regional scene, and it was pretty straightforward. The kid puts his head down, he bangs. He isn't extremely technical. He has okay leg kicks for a heavyweight, but what we saw, I don't know, man. Here's my issue. I really want to watch Greg Hardy just get knocked out.
I do too.
I'm not really a fan of him. Now, what I think is the question that I have is, what version of Greg Hardy do we see, right? Because Dana White, we know, he put a couple tomato cans in front of him. He wanted to build Greg Hardy's name up. So he wanted to get a couple wins, under his belt. So he ran through the first couple guys. Then he goes and fights Ben Sassoli, and who is not really UFC caliber heavyweight, but he was better. And we saw a different Greg Hardy. We saw a Greg Hardy that sat behind his jab more. He was very patient. He stayed at range. He wasn't looking to get hit with that bomb. Now, I think he lost that fight because he used his inhaler during rounds. But then they finally put him in with a legitimate UFC caliber heavyweight in Alexander Volkov. And again, he sat behind the jab. He tried to implement an actual game plan, but he was smaller than Volkov, and he just wasn't good enough. I think because De Castro is so much smaller than Greg Hardy, I think that Greg Hardy's going to feel a lot more comfortable, and I think that he's going to get in the pocket more than his last couple fights and bang out. But if he's not careful, he could get knocked out because that guy throws wild haymakers. His overhand right's not bad. So I'm not going to lay the price on Greg Hardy. Again, I think it's another parlay piece if you want to throw him in a parlay. But it would not shock me if he got rocked because De Castro hits hard and he's willing to scrap. And that's half the battle in the UFC. So I would say parlay piece or pass.
Yeah, I like the parlay action for Greg Hardy. Look, I think we're going to see a evolved Greg Hardy. I mean, he has gotten better every fight. You can't deny that. Granted, his fights have been short, but you saw evidence of it last fight. Even the fact that he's developed a jab, I mean, that's amazing. Like, that's a lot of fighters still don't have that in their repertoire. So he will get behind that jab. I think he does fight smart. He's got the experience. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the strength. It's all in his head. This is all mental for Greg Hardy. If he fights smart and he has a good game plan, I think this is his time. This is going to be a good fight for him. But Castro, what scares me is just what you said, Jason. You get in the pocket, you want to bang with these heavyweights. Anyone could go lights out. And that's exactly why I think Greg Hardy will kind of avoid that. I think he wants to play smart. I think he wants to wrestle. He wants to expose this guy's, how green he is and show off his progress. So I'm going Greg Hardy. I don't think I'll lay the price either, but parlay piece all the way. So we're on agreement there. Let's move on. We got another fight. I could personally, I would not like to see any these fighters anymore. We saw, I think, Cowboy Cerrone 5 times in 2019. It's insane. Like, come on, dude. Anthony Pettis comes into this fight minus 145. Cowboy Cerrone plus 117. Over and under 2.5. Over plus 115. Under minus 145. Preston, what do you got?
Yeah, this is a tough fight because you got two guys who just have been on such a decline, it seems. Granted, Cowboys fought Ferguson, Connor, and who else did he lose
And
to?
Cowboy was supposed to lose these fights. I mean, even in his prime, he would have lost these 3 fights.
Yeah. Gaethje, yeah, of course. He got knocked out by Gaethje real quick. So, yeah, he loses those 3 fights. Now he gets Pettis. Pettis is probably on a steeper decline against, like you're saying, substandard competition maybe. But it's hard because Cowboy's chin is cracked pretty bad. This fight's at 170, so maybe the extra weight might help him. It didn't help him at all against Connor, but Connor hits like a truck. This is really tough. We've seen Pettis kind of.
And this fight opened close. It was like a 110, almost a pick 'em at
I'll
first.
be honest. I thought Cowboy was going to be like a 150 favorite. And then I saw the line like last week and saw he was the underdog. And in my mind, I think people would run to bet Cowboy personally. Jason, would you agree with that? Or like seeing Cowboy as a dog like that?
Yeah, I was surprised. I would have thought if I was lining the fight, I would have made Cerrone a slight favorite. I agree.
Me too.
Yeah, so that doesn't always work, but in my mind, do the bookmakers know something? Who knows? We know Sergio Pettis is at Bellator. Anthony Pettis with a loss. Join your brother in Bellator. Why not? I don't love this fight either way. I'm going to say Cowboy because Cowboy, not if it gets like, I guess, yeah, if the going gets tough, so to speak, I think Cowboy can bite down harder and just win, but be wary of a body shot because that's how you got dropped last time you fought. So
yeah, what do you think, Jason?
Well, I think their first fight in 2013 means absolutely nothing in 2020.
Yeah, me too.
We know what Anthony Pettis is. Solid grappler that's got a serious Brazilian jiu-jitsu game. He used to be able to submit his opponents from anywhere, really. He's one of the more well-rounded MMA fighters in the UFC because his striking was dynamic, just as dynamic as him rolling around on the mat. He used to have great hand speed, great footwork, great stamina, but this version of Pettis isn't many of those things. He gassed out really quickly against Diego Ferreira in his last fight. He gassed out against Nate Diaz the fight before that. He's no longer dynamic. He looks like an aging fighter that doesn't have much left. I was on Anthony Pettis last year at UFC Fight Night 148 when he beat Wonder Boy. And if I'm being honest, I was lucky to cash that ticket He caught Thompson and he dropped him. But if he hadn't dropped him, he was losing that fight badly. So
and we know that firsthand, Jason, because we had Thompson and we lost another probably $3,500.
Yeah. We have stories for weeks about these parlays we lose.
Oh, dude, you wouldn't. It's almost made up. It's fucking
comical.
ridiculous.
It's comical how bad we get shitted on. It's comical.
But you're right.
There you go.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right about how he was losing it. He was getting his ass kicked. Let's be quite honest.
Yeah. There's not much left in the tank for Anthony Pettis, but there's an argument to be made that Donald Cerrone doesn't have much left in the tank either. But the big difference, like you mentioned earlier, is that Donald Cerrone's last 3 fights are against the 3 of the best fighters in the world right now.
Right.
In McGregor, Gaethje, and Ferguson. Would we be viewing Cerrone differently if he had fought the Hagel in his last fight? Cowboy has more fights than anyone in the UFC, so we know he doesn't have much left. But he's a really well-rounded fighter, dynamic kickboxer. In a lot of ways, he's similar to the older version of Anthony Pettis, really. And the fact that he lost, like I said, to Pettis 7 years ago means nothing. So what worries me is this. He was on record saying that in the biggest fight of his life against Conor, Donald walked into the octagon and not Cowboy. That's alarming, man. If he couldn't get up for the fight against McGregor, is he going to get up for a fight against Pettis? That's the real question. However, I do think he probably does. He has a lot of pride. He knows that he was just embarrassed on a national stage with a 2-minute loss to Conor. He's already lost to Pettis. I'm sure he wants to get that one back for his legacy. So this fight, like we said, should be a pick'em. Both these guys should be minus 110. I think the value's on Cowboy here for sure. I think that, if Cerrone goes up to like the plus 135, 40 range, I'll probably take a 1-unit shot on Donald.
What do you think on the, what do y'all guys think about the over here with 2.5? I mean, could you see this being a decision or being a drawn out, just last opportunity for both guys to like shore up their legacy or something? Or
I could see it going over, but like you mentioned earlier, both of their chins are looking really bad lately.
Right.
So, I mean, I think if either of these guys hit the button, they're going to drop.
Yeah.
That would be my concern.
And I'm on Donald too. And here's the thing. I love Anthony Pettis to an extent. I used to, the old Pettis. The new one, I just don't see the pride. I don't see the heart. He's given up recently in fights, and that's evident. I mean, you can see it. Cerrone, he got his ass kicked by 3 of the best guys in the world. Like, there's no shame in that. At least he went out there and fought. Yeah, he got elbow shouldered to McGregor, which was kind of weird.
The Conor one's a little tough.
That's a little tough.
The other two, I don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm on Cowboy here all the way. I think for the dog favor, yeah, you got to go with Donald here. He uses his kickboxing, his length. I think he'll figure out how to keep Pettis, keep him off, and just pick him apart. So let's move on to the next fight. We got Calvin Kattar versus Jeremy Stephens. Kattar comes in at minus 275, and Jeremy Stephens plus 215. Over and under 2.5. Over minus 180. Under plus 150. Sports Keg, what do you got?
Jeremy Stephens is everything I love about this sport. He's a modern day gladiator. But if we're being fair, his best days are behind him.
Yep.
We know he carries a ton of power in that little frame. We know that even though he's getting older, his cardio has held up pretty well. He's not a great striker at range, but he's a very technical striker inside the pocket. And he wants to be on the inside. He constantly brings the pressure so he can get inside that pocket. But the problem is, with all that said, he looked pretty bad in that last fight.
Oh, yeah.
Against Yair Rodriguez. That was the first time I stopped and I said, wow, he's starting to look old.
Right.
All the damage that he's taken over the years, every time he took one to give 2, it's catching up. So that hand speed that used to be so fast is a little bit slower. And he did not, Zabit Magomed destroyed him. But, Zabit Magomed is going to destroy most fighters in the featherweight division. I'm a big fan of Calvin Kattar. I call him a kid. He's only a year younger, but he's 100 years younger in fight years. He's another guy that lost his last fight against Zabit. But I'm not concerned because Jeremy Stephens isn't Zabit. I don't really hold a loss against him. I love his striking game. I really think it's elite. I think that his fundamental kickboxing game is solid. I think that his patience inside the pocket serves him really well. He sits behind that jab well. Everything gets set up, and that's why his angles are so good. His defensive boxing game is really good. I think that he avoids damage in the pocket because he's selective with his counter striking game. And I think the size advantage that he has is going to serve him well. His takedown defense is solid, even though I don't expect him to have to use it because Jeremy just sits in the pocket and bangs. What I don't like about Calvin Kattar, as I said on a previous show, is he tends to start out really slow out of the gate. Even in the fights that he wins, he starts out slow. So I think we know Stephens will come out of the gate like an animal, and I think Kattar's good enough to be able to deal with that. If he was minus 190, I would have a couple units on him. At minus 275, I think he's a parlay piece. I'm not going to lay 275 with him. But if he was cheaper, I would have no problem. But yeah, I think he gets the job done easily.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Kattar, I could make an argument that if you let that Kattar and Zabit fight go to round 4 and 5, that Kattar was just picking up in round 3, dude. Like he was getting on. He's one of the first people that really got to Zabit that I've seen in that 3rd round. You go into 4 and 5. Who knows what the hell would have happened? Zabit looked like he was getting gassed out. I mean, he was struggling. So with that being said, Kattar, he does start slow. He's got massive heart, which I love about him. Very technical boxing, great boxer, underrated or not underrated at all. He's fantastic. One of the best in the division. His uppercuts and just straight jabs are just amazing, but he's kind of one-dimensional. I'm going Kattar though. I mean, I can't back Stephens after that last fight. And like you said, he's past his prime, man. Like we're going to be seeing this over the next few years. A lot of these guys are going to start flooding out, the news coming in. It's that time. So yeah, I'm leaning Kattar 100%. I can't back him at 275. I mean, maybe for a unit, just win a quick $100 or something. Cause I don't see him losing.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with both you guys. I'm sure you saw Jeremy Stephens missed weight today by 4.5 pounds. That doesn't bode well either. What do I think? Soft belly. Soft belly means body shots. Body shots means knockout. I'm taking Calvin Kattar, round 2 KO due to a body shot. Pretty clear to me. Stephens is, like you're saying, pretty shop-worn. Not much speed. He does still throw bombs, but man, Kattar, when he's on, when he's clicking, when he's stringing those combos together, he's one tough guy to take out. 275 really sucks though. That's a heavy line, but I think Kattar personally is probably the safest bet on the card. Like I said, I think Kattar knocks him out with a left hook to the body. Yeah, that's where I'm going. So I think under 2.5 plus 150 is great too.
Do you guys have the price on what Kattar is inside the distance?
Let me get that real quick. Yes, I can find that. Inside the distance would be God, where is it?
You should get plus money.
Yeah, I mean round one's plus round one's plus 500, round two's plus 750, round three's plus 1,000.
So probably
right
plus
there.
money. That's not terrible.
Calvin Kattar by KO is plus 300.
That's not bad.
Yep, not bad. Plus 300. That might be the way to go. Cool.
I am pretty confident he's going to knock him out with a body shot. Stephens got dropped by Yair with a left kick to the body, And he got knocked out by Aldo to the body. Cater hits harder than Aldo, I think, with his fists. I don't know. Maybe that's debatable. I really think Cater knocks him out with a body shot. So, yeah.
Cool.
We'll move on.
So let's move on. Yeah, let's move on. What's the next fight here? What do we got, Preston?
Up next, we have the big boys, Francis Ngannou.
Big boys.
Minus 265 going against Jair Rosenstruck at plus 2.5. The round prop is 1.5. Under minus 120. Over plus 110. Jason, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, Franny is not really a complex fighter with a really intricate game. We know he does one thing. He walks into the cage and looks to kill you. So, I mean, we haven't seen Franny show any kind of fundamental mixed martial arts game at all. He's really a heavyweight boxer that wears 4-ounce gloves and just happens to fight for the UFC. He really only has one loss, the Stipe fight, because that Derek Lewis fight was the worst fight in UFC history. And I don't even count. It just so happens Derek Lewis threw a couple more punches than he did, and that's why he lost. And he's got that one submission win against Anthony Hamilton, but it wasn't really a Kimura. I mean, he just almost ripped his arm right off his shoulder.
Yeah,
right?
he did.
Now,
He did.
I think Rosenstruck is a monster in his own right, man. I was on Rosenstruck in his last fight. I was lucky to cash that ticket. He was dominated for 4 rounds, 4 minutes, and 50 seconds. And then he decided to rip Alistair Overeem's face in half. So, I guess Ngannou and Rosenstruck are similar fighters. I do see a difference, though. They both have a ton of power and can end a fight in 1 second. But if you're asking me who the better fundamental kickboxer is, I mean, Rosenstruck is 76-8 as a kickboxer. He's far more technical a striker in the pocket than Francis. Francis does not have to be technical to end you. Now, Rosenstruck ran into a veteran kickboxing champion last time out in Alistair Overeem, and he almost lost because Overeem had a better game plan. He was more technical, and I think in this fight the tables turned. Rosenstruck's more technical. So, Alistair Overeem was really smart in that fight to spend half the fight clinching with Rosenstruck and pinning him against the cage because it chewed half the fight away. I think that there's a shot in Ngannou's game plan on Saturday because Rosenstruck didn't really like Overeem pinning him against the cage. Maybe we see a little of that from Ngannou if the striking is not going exactly the way that he wants it to go. I think I think the odds are wrong. I love Francis Ngannou. He's a monster out of a comic book. I do not think that Rosenstruck should be plus 235. I don't. So even though I'm probably expecting to lose, I have to take that plus 235 on Rosenstruck because he is live. He's more than live as a dog. As far as the total, if you guys notice, these big boys tend to respect each other's power. They tend to bop around for the first 5 minutes and size each other up. So I definitely see a scenario where this fight goes over 1.5 rounds. I even see a scenario where we think we're going to see fireworks and it ends up being a snooze fest because they respect each other's power. So I lean over, and I will probably have a unit on Rosenstruck simply because I think the line is wrong.
Interesting. Yeah, man, this is a tough fight because, like you said, technically Rosenstruck, yes, he is the better kickboxer. Unfortunately, I, however, do think Francis is the better all-around MMA guy, period. I know we don't see a lot of it from him, but we also don't have to. I'm expecting Francis to go out there with the game plan, and I'm expecting him to take Rosenstruck to the ground, pin him against the cage, and I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. Francis is going to win by submission. I'm going over. I'm going over 1.5. Francis is going to either pin this guy down and bash his face, or he's going to submit this guy somehow.
I'll tell you right now, if Ngannou submits Rosen tomorrow night. That will be the greatest MMA call of all time.
Well, I hope that I can be labeled that title, because that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, Jeff has told me this over a week ago. That's what he thinks is going to happen.
Because you're right, Jason. I don't think that Francis necessarily wants to go in here and box this guy up. This guy's too technical.
That make you love the over, though?
It does make me love the over. It actually does. And I do like the over as a play, and I will play the over because everyone is expecting it to be a knockout, 1 round, quick knockout. I don't think so. I think Francis, you got to respect someone that has 70-something kickboxing matches and a world-class champion. Like, you have to.
Agree.
So I'm going out on a limb here. I know it's crazy, but that's my call. What do you think, Preston?
Yeah, I'm going with Ngannou as well. Like you guys were saying, line's a little steep. However, I personally haven't. The most impressive I've seen from Rosenstruck was how he starched Arlovsky. That was very impressive. His fight against Junior Albini, Albini's not really that great. I don't know. I just like the way he got, I don't want to say manhandled, but he got controlled pretty easily by Overeem on the ground. Granted, Ngannou isn't as good, nowhere near probably as good on the ground as Overeem is, but Ngannou, he's right there for a title shot. I know he wants Stipe again. He can't, I mean, of course he can lose, but he really can't afford this loss because he doesn't want to go back down the ladder. Plus, if he goes back down the ladder, maybe he has to face Curtis Blades again. Who knows? Maybe that fight goes another way. I'm going to go with Ngannou. A lot of people are on Rosenstruck, though, but
a lot of people. And you can make a case for it. Jason just did. I mean, it's a great case.
And if I'm being honest, I expect to lose, and I think you guys probably win. Sometimes you just got to bet the value with a live dog. So I'm just taking a shot,
And trust us, we know about live dogs. In fact, we win more live dogs than we win our favorites. And that's why I tend to try to stay away from favorites. Although UFC is a little harder to do that, but so let's move on to the co-main event. These last 2 fights I'm pretty excited about. Although I think the Dominic Cruz I think the Dominic Cruz hype train is going to come to an end. Anyone that comes back after 2 years, I mean,
well, it's three and a half.
Yeah,
3.5 years. Dominic Cruz plus 160 on my bookie versus Henry Cejudo minus 225. Over under 4.5 rounds. Over minus 190. Under plus 145.
I'm just gonna say it, dude. I'm all over Cejudo. This guy fucking took the massivest kicks from that you could.
Marlon Moraes.
I mean, and he just walked through these kicks like you wouldn't believe. Like, the guy made a championship adjustment in the fight that he was getting his ass kicked to the first round and a half. I mean, the dude trains at one of the best top-notch gyms. His athletic ability is, it's on a whole different level. Dude, this fight is probably my favorite. I mean, I'm not a big Cejudo fan, but as far as value, this guy's going to win. He's not going to lose this fight. He's not going to lose to Dominic Cruz. What do you think, Jason?
I'm disgusted that this fight is happening. I wrote an article for Pub Sports Radio about how disgusted I am.
Yeah, we read that.
This fight is happening. I don't understand why an unranked Dominic Cruz gets a title shot here when Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan have grinded for years. They've been getting the job done. I think both those guys and maybe Corey Sandhagen deserve a shot at this belt before Dom gets it. I love Dominic Cruz, and I don't want to come off as a hater. I don't mean to. I loved him at WEC. He was the first UFC bantamweight champion. He was the entire bantamweight division of the UFC for a couple of years. You couldn't touch the kid. Unfortunately, the injuries in 2012 kind of screwed his legacy up. We don't know how good that he might have been. But, if we get he might have the best and certainly the most unorthodox movement and footwork in the history of the sport. Okay? Everything that Dom does well is built off the foundation that his footwork is incredibly hard to time. So his footwork and his striking game obviously go hand in hand. And it's the reason why his combinations come from really weird angles and that they're so effective. His striking is pinpoint accurate. He can fight you at range. He can bounce inside. He's a solid wrestler, even though he never uses his wrestling at all. My issue is what you guys just spoke about. It's incredibly hard to win a fight off almost a 4-year layoff. The guy has fought 4 times in almost a decade. He won't be anywhere near as fast or accurate. And 4 years ago, he couldn't even get the job done against Cody Garbrandt. So I think that he'll be even less effective. And if he is, how do you expect to be a 2-division champion in somebody like Henry Cejudo? I was not on the Henry Cejudo train in the beginning. I knew he was an Olympic wrestler. I knew that most MMA fighters with a wrestling background are successful, but that was the only thing that Henry Cejudo had going for him at the time. And I didn't see much of him, but his striking game in 2014 is very different than his striking game in 2020. It's evolved way past what I thought he could do. You know, his first fight against Mighty Mouse at UFC 197, if you look at that tape and then you rewatch the rematch at UFC 227 with Demetrius Johnson, I mean, it's night and day, man.
And
his hand speed, his counter striking, his overhand right, everything, his footwork, everything looks incredible now. And I think it goes down similar to the Marlon Moraes fight. Okay, he got his ass kicked in round 1.
Right.
He was losing. He lost round 1 badly. I thought I was in trouble because I had a Cejudo ticket in my pocket. He goes to the corner after round 1. He comes out of round 2 a completely different fighter. It took him 5 minutes to get Marlon Moraes' timing down. Once he did, he absolutely destroyed him. So I think that Cruz may be successful in round 1 because it's such an interesting look that his footwork gives. But even if Henry has trouble in round 1 and it takes him 5 to 7 minutes to get his timing down, I think that once he gets his timing down, it is a wrap. So I am heavily invested in Henry Cejudo. I got it at minus 195. Closer to the opening line. I think you can get him somewhere around minus 215 now. I still think that that's bettable. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you know, people tend to forget too. When Henry's last fight with DJ, Henry was fucking hurt from the first fucking round on, dude. He was limping on a bummed ass ankle, like a leg, like, dude, and he still won. That's incredible. But this guy might be the most disrespected champion. I know I've disrespected him. I've betting against him 3 fights in a fucking row. That's how much I don't like the guy.
Yeah.
But he proved me wrong. And man, the way Cody Garbrandt should have put Dominic Cruz away, but he wanted to do his little fucking dance, his fancy dances and showing off hot dog and bullshit. Instead, he, went to a decision. He made Dominic look old and slow. Henry is just as fast as Cody. And I mean, dude, there's only one way to bet this, in my opinion. What do you think, Preston?
Yeah. So, when this fight was originally announced, like Jason, I was shocked, but they keep billing Dominic Cruz, the bantamweight GOAT. Can the new GOAT beat the old GOAT? That's how the UFC is booking this fight. And as Jeff alluded to, I as well have lost a lot of money betting against Henry Cejudo. So I am not doing it this time. The layoff, for me, it's pretty much just the layoff, because if they're both in their prime, as I'm sure you saw the weigh-in photo today, Cruz towered over Cejudo.
Oh, he towered over him. And I'm trying to look up the reach difference right now, because that's going to be an issue maybe too, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it should be like 5 inches, but I think Cejudo hits harder. That right hand he has, he should be able to take Cruz down somewhat. Cruz can, though, counter pretty well, but, man, you can't. At this point, it's hard to, I don't know. I personally think Sandhagen could put the business to Cejudo. That's just my opinion. But I think Cejudo will get the win. And yeah.
Wow. Cruz only has a half an inch reach advantage. I mean, that's insane being 4 or 5 inches taller than the guy.
And Dominic Cruz has like an 83% takedown defense.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good, bro, until you're in there with an Olympic wrestling champion.
Exactly.
And I think he could get his legs kicked out from under him pretty bad, too. And weaken the legs, grab the, get an ankle pick, get him down, pound him out. Yeah.
It is crazy, though, that as much success as Dominic Cruz has, the guy's still 35 years old. I mean, that's insane, dude. He seems like he's like in his 40. Yeah, I would think if I had to guess, I'd say he's like 40. I mean, it's nuts. But while we're on this topic, I just want to ask y'all, why do y'all think, Sterling, Peter Yan, Stanhagen, why do you think none of those guys have gotten onto a main event card?
Yan's still young.
Yeah.
I find that, these are the guys you're building the UFC on, though. Don't you find it a little bit?
They have made the main pay-per-view cards. They just haven't really headlined.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Cards.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I should clarify the headline, but we've seen so many bad fucking headlines.
Well,
let's be honest.
Well, my issue, it was even before Cruz got. Why did Aldo get the fight? Why is Aldo fighting Cejudo?
I completely agree, man.
Right.
I completely agree with that. Yeah. I don't know why. It seems like Dana White doesn't like Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
Because he deserves a title shot. Jan, I guess I get it because he hasn't been in the UFC that long, but he deserves a shot. I think Corey Sandhagen is in the discussion to deserve a shot.
Oh, I got a good one for you, Jason. If Faber would have beat Jan, Faber gets the title shot? Huh?
That would be an equal travesty.
No, you've seen it, right? You've seen it every, let's throw Faber in with Frank Yeager. Let's throw Faber in, with whoever we want. I've had issues with the matchmaking for like the past 5 years.
I agree, bro. Nick Maynard is not Joe Bravo.
I agree.
But yeah, so I guess we're all in agreement there. And now the big fight.
The one we're all waiting for. We've been waiting on Tony Ferguson for, it seems like, ever now.
Yeah.
So. Although, yeah, he did just fight with Cowboy, but come on, that was kind of a quick one. So we got Tony Ferguson main event. Tony Ferguson minus 230, Justin Gaethje plus 190, over and under 2.5, plus 115. The over unders coming in at minus 145. Start off with you, Preston.
So I don't know about you guys, but when has Justin Gaethje been compared to me? The hype he's getting this week is like he's prime Chuck Liddell, just some vicious striker, walks through water, one touch, you're knocked out. I think it's almost disrespect to Ferguson the way they're hyping this fight up. Like I've personally seen, I want to say 70-30 Gaethje. Jason, what have you seen on that?
What have I seen? Say that one more time.
As far as people backing Gaethje, do you think it's more of a 7-30?
Oh, I have seen more people taking the dog money on Gaethje.
Me too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like I think it's almost stupid. Before Gaethje came to the UFC, he was a great knockout artist in World Series of Fighting. Nice name. He was in the UFC to make like fire fights. Underdog to Michael Johnson. Underdog to James Vick. Favorite knocks out a chinny Cerrone. Now he fights arguably, number 1, number 2 lightweight in the world, Tony Ferguson. And this line got as low as, I want to say 160 Ferguson. It's creeping up now. It's like 220.
230, yeah, my bookie.
But I think Ferguson picks him apart bad. I think this is a tough fight for Gaethje. I think the best thing Gaethje has going in this fight is the leg kicks. But I know. I think
that overhand right, boy, that thing fucking put you out like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
That overhand right will.
Yeah, but I think Ferguson, he's going to dodge under it, duck under it, hit him with a spinning back elbow or some shit, get a trip, get him in a submission, and like tap him out in like round 3. I don't know. the hype on Gaethje is like astounding to me. I like Justin Gaethje, but I don't think he wins this fight. That's just me. I mean, maybe he just walks Ferguson down, throws one punch, knocks him out like he's James Vick. I don't see it. I got to go with Ferguson.
So, okay. You got Ferguson. How about you, Sports Keg? What do you got, Jason?
Well, I do think that this is one of the tougher main events in the last 12 months to call. I think it's a dangerous fight for Tony.
Very dangerous.
I don't think Justin Gaethje is a walk in the park to go get your interim lightweight championship. But Tony's going for 13 in a row. I mean, he's got one of the best, if not the best, technical striking game in the division. His combinations are excellent. His counter striking accuracy is incredible. And Tony Ferguson has power, nowhere near the heaviest hands in the lightweight division, but power. He's got the sickest gas tank of anybody in the lightweight division by a mile. Ferguson could go 10 rounds on Saturday if need be. And I do think that that could be a big determining factor into who wins this fight. He's one of those rare guys that is so well-rounded. He has just as good as ground game as he does stand-up game, and that's rare in the UFC. That black belt from 10th Planet is legit. You know, not one of those fugazi, I have a black belt too guys. So, you know, his ground game is exceptional. I think he could submit you from anywhere in the cage. He's got a really offensive mindset from his back. He's just as dangerous a submission threat off his back as anywhere else. The only thing, and I've said this so many times, what bothers me about Tony Ferguson is sometimes he takes unnecessary risk because he's so confident in his offensive game. And it's a huge reason as to why he gets hurt in almost every single fight he's in. Now, the only thing that saves him time and time again is he might have the fastest recovery time in the UFC. If he gets dropped, he's already awake by the time that he hits the ground. But one day he's going to get hit and he's going to stay down. And it could be Saturday night. Gaethje is a serious threat to anybody. I do think he's elite. I think he's got the heaviest hands in the division by probably. If we're counting Conor as a welterweight now, I do think that he's got the heaviest hands in the division. The guy can give you CTE instantly. So a very underrated part of Gaethje's game are his leg kicks. He's ended multiple people with leg kicks to the body. And I do wonder if Tony Ferguson's surgically repaired knee, I don't know how many of those leg kicks that knee can take. It's concerning. But like I tweeted out the other day, Justin Gaethje absorbs so much damage, 9.7 significant strikes per minute, every minute he's been in the UFC. It's really hard, bro, to get hit 10 times that in a minute that often. But his offensive striking, 8.57 strikes per minute. I mean, that's a lot of action in a minute. I don't begrudge anybody for taking that plus money on Justin Gaethje. I do think he could win the fight. I think he has about 2 rounds to do it because, you know, he was dead tired in the 3rd round against Eddie Alvarez. And I do think that, you know, once we get to the 3rd round, if it does get there, I think that the momentum dramatically swings in Tony's favor. And like you mentioned earlier, everybody's super high on Justin Gaethje, and I get it. But let's not forget the 3-fight win streak is James Vick, who has the worst chin in the division, and then Edson Barboza and Anthony Pettis, who are far past their prime years. I think Tony is a better fighter. I think that he could end it by knockout. I think he can end it by submission. He could drag Gaethje into the championship rounds. And if that happens, I think it's a wrap. At this point in their career, you got to back Tony Ferguson. Now, at minus 175, which I saw earlier, that line is moving really fast. At minus 200, I don't know if I would take Tony at minus 200. I think at that point, you have to take him inside the distance around minus 105 because I would be stunned if this fight goes 25 minutes. stunned. So I guess since that line has moved so much, I'll give out Tony inside the distance at around -105, -110.
Man, do y'all guys think so? I mean, you think Ferguson gets it done within the 3 rounds? You think it's within
a 5-round fight. It's a 5-round fight. It's a title fight.
Right. No, I know that, but I'm gauging it to the over and under. You know, the over's 2.5. So do you think?
Oh, it's so close to call, man. Because if Tony loses, it's going to be in those first 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, and that's what I think too.
Yeah, but he could win it past round. He could win it in the 3rd round,
right,
and it wouldn't shock me. He could win it in the 4th round, and it wouldn't shock me. But I mean, I think Gaethje's got about 12 and a half minutes to get the job done, and if he doesn't, he's in trouble. Yeah,
and like you said, Tony is playing with fire here. The one thing that concerns me the most, Preston alluded to it, you alluded to it, is Gaethje's leg kicks, man. Tony's got kind of some chicken legs, you could call it, and I mean, he, like you said, his knee. I mean, how much? If Gaethje comes out with the game plan where he's gonna just bang those fucking legs over and over, it's gonna be a long night for both of them, I think.
Oh, he is.
I know
that leg is going to be swinging.
I agree, and that's kind of what worries me about this. But I do think Tony he seems to turn it up in adversity, and he's the best at it. Like, he almost needs to get in trouble before he decides to finish a fight or really start picking it up. Tony, by far the more technical striker in all aspects, obviously. Maybe besides the kicks, the jiu-jitsu, you know, Gaethje's a great wrestler, but you don't want to go to the ground with Ferguson. Ferguson can finish you from all angles. And then, yeah, like you said, is Gaethje takes so much damage per minute, and that's not even against someone like Tony Ferguson, who constantly puts the pressure on. So that 9 times per minute, is that going to jump up to 15 times per minute? I mean, who's supposed to win this fight? Because both of them are pressure fighters. Who's going to be the alpha in this? Who's going to back the other guy up? I can see Tony backing up because I think his countering is better. He's not afraid to go to his back and draw that guard.
It's a really tough fight.
It's a fucking tough fight.
One of the hardest fights, I think, main event fights of the last 12 months.
And it sucks, man, because I could see Gaethje winning, but I want Ferguson to win because I want to see Ferguson compete. God damn it, I'm tired of this shit. Like, I want to see it. I want to see it. So that being said, Tony, come on, El Kuke, right? El Kuke, the boogeyman.
Yep, Kukui.
Yeah, El Kukui.
Let's go, baby. Tony Ferguson all the way. I'm not a huge Justin Gaethje fan, like you said. Yeah, he's got a massive overhand right. His kicks are fantastic. He takes so much damage, though. But he is tough as nails, dude. He's taken some damage, and he does recover pretty quick, too. I mean, maybe he doesn't recover as quick, but he doesn't stop moving forward. That's for sure. But, dude, Tony's the only way I'm betting, and I'm probably going to lay a decent amount on Tony. I like Tony. He trained. I mean, this is his time, man. This has to be his time. So, Tony Ferguson all the way, -230. For a quick wrap, we're going to go through, Jason, what we do, you know, is just our best bets. We each give out a best bet of the night. Before that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Natural Heights. That's a CBD Natural Heights shop. They're off 1880 Nacogdoches Road, 210-592-1060. If you suffer from stress, anxiety, joint pain, PTSD, or insomnia, these guys have what you need. Anything you need, from gummies to flour to oil. I use the oil. I love it. Give these guys a call. They're great. They have 3 or 4 different products inside. Charlotte's Web. I love Charlotte's Web. Let's move on, man. So let's go ahead and go with you, Preston. What's your best bet?
So my best bet, I'm calculating it right now, is going to be even money. Perfect. My best bet's going to be a parlay of Calvin Kattar, Greg Hardy, for a second best bet, so to speak, would be Cater by KO plus 300. I really love that bet. Cater's by far my favorite look on the card.
Okay. I like those too. How about you, Jason? What do you got?
I'm definitely going to go with Henry at minus 215, what he is right now. And I'm just calculating this parlay also. It's Calvin Cater, I guess, Fabricio Verdum at minus 120. And if I was going to take one total, I know it's like messing around with fire, but I'm going to go with the Rosen and Ngannou over 1.5, just because I think they're going to square each other up for most of the first round, and we won't see a ton of action until the second. So I'll go over 1.5 in the Ngannou fight, Cejudo minus 215, and Cater for Doom parlay at minus 120.
Okay. I'm going to just, I'm going to keep it simple. I mean, I agree totally with all y'all's bets. I am going to be on all those as well, but not to be, so it's not so boring. I'm going to go ahead and just take Cowboy at plus 115 now. Donald Cerrone at 115. That's good value. Anthony Pettis, he's on the way out, I believe, and I think Cowboy can get it done here. As far as parlays, I haven't really looked into it, but I always dabble around in those, and especially when it comes to the UFC. One thing I will throw out there just for fun, since I already said it, is I'm going to look at this real quick.
Ngannou by submission.
Holy shit. They got Ngannou by submission for minus 160.
No.
Yep.
It's not minus 160.
Yep. Oh, no. Plus 500. That's what I'm on. Nope. That's not it either. Plus 900.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Plus 900, baby.
Ngannou by submission should be plus 2,000.
Bring that shit on. I'm on it. So that, Jason, I know you think I'm crazy, but as you get to know me, I am a little crazy. So
I will be talking about you tomorrow night.
Okay.
On the Fightcast on the Sports K YouTube channel.
Great.
If that happens, man, that will be the greatest call ever. I'm telling you.
Well, that would be surely it would line my pockets, because I will throw 100 on that. Anyways, Jason, I want to thank you for joining us, Talking Hands. I hope that we can get you on, per every fight, continuing on. We love you. You're great, man. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. I appreciate to be part of the team. Anytime that you need me, I'll be there, and the articles will be on the Pub Sports Radio website. Yeah,
if you guys don't know, check out Jason's articles, his MMA articles. You can look them up at pubsportsradio.com. Another sponsor from us is Southtown 101. We have a live radio station, a studio built inside the bar. Come check us out when we get to open someday. We're not open yet. But we have a drive-through right now. You can get a great burger and some good food. So, and we are selling booze to go. I don't like to promote drinking and driving, but hey, everyone else is, I guess. So anyway, Jason, no, for real, we appreciate it, man. Thanks guys for tuning us in. Enjoy Talking Hands.
Yeah, we'll see you next